Greetings, and Akoma is Montsho Edu, one half of the Akoma House Initiative, culturally based counseling and consulting, the art and science of Black love culture. Um, Shout out to the Rose of Jericho oil from Nicholas Brooklyn. Dope, 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 dope. That is what aromatics is in my nostrils right now. Today, just want to talk about something that's very pertinent. We are entering into, in all of our work in the Akoma House Initiative, we're entering what we call the heat of love season, and that's summer. And we call it the heat of love because all of our discussions, all of our classes in the Black Love School, and a lot of our work around our individual clients is dealing with the heat of love, which is conversations about intimacy and sex. Again, not sex and intimacy, but intimacy and sex. And it's that cadence that we have to move with because it is emotional vulnerability that creates high levels of sex. Without those things, you can't get to the high levels, right? We attempt it to approach it physically, but it fizzles out nonetheless very quickly. So if we're looking for high levels of explosive um, markat or sexual copulation, we definitely need um, deep intimacy to replenish that over and over again. So today's discussion is about the three kind of relationships or sexual relationships or three categories really that we go into in relationship because there's only three. And so I want to share what they are. At the outstart, I challenge anyone to find me another one. I've been looking at this for years, for 20 plus years, and this is not even me bringing this information. I'm just concurring with it, and I've postulated on it for over 20 years and agreed that it's only these three. So, and as a man, I'm gonna speak to the woman, but I'm gonna then reverse it, and I can't speak for women, but I can speak to men on behalf of women. So, for us as men, women, there's only three categories you're going to go into when we meet you. Number one, you are a potential mate. Number two, you could potentially be a friend with benefits, sexual benefits. Or number three, you are a sexual conquest, right? That's it. That's the only three categories there are. There isn't another category, right? Now, let me define these categories and show that they have a descending order in the way that I said them. Number one is a mate. Interestingly, as a mate, you have all three within the mate. So, being the mate, you have full life commitment and the sharing of all aspects of yourself when you're somebody's mate, right? So, if you are a mate at the third position, you are also a friend with benefits, and you are also a sexual conquest, right? You're the ultimate sexual conquest. So you're sharing all aspects of life and love together. You have the ultimate level of responsibility with this partner that you're with. You are their friend. You are their cheerleader. You are their sometimes their your greatest critique person, and sometimes you can be an adversary. But you are everything to this person. You're a mate. You are in category two, where you are a friend with benefits, and you are a sexual conquest, right? Number two, the friends with benefits. You're not a person that someone is going to commit to in terms of the responsibility of their life. They're not going to put their life responsibility in you. They'll shoot you some money. They'll help you out of situations, but they're not going to take personal responsibility the way we do when we have a mate. So for a mate, a man is putting his life up for his woman. That's his mate. A woman is giving her life over to the man, right? And so these are very important positions to be in, and they take some consideration and some skill and some wise decision making. Men, if you put your life up for the wrong woman, you can lose your life. Women, if you put your life in the hands of the wrong man, you can lose your life. So it's a life and death situation. That's number one, mating. Number two, friends with benefits is saying, hey, we cool, we have a sexual interaction and a sexual relationship. We usually don't have exclusivity, and we certainly don't have the highest level of responsibility, right? So we kicking it, everything's is good, and we have casual, non-committal sex, which is devastating to us spiritually, but we do it. And our expectations are tempered by understanding that you're not the one and I'm not the one to you. So limits are going to be built into what we think, feel, say, and do because of that, right? So that's two. Number three is a sexual conquest. And let me say this for the men. I'm not qualified to speak on this on behalf of a woman, but I would love to hear any woman's perspective on the way they may see a male sexual conquest. Groupie love or something like that. Somebody that women you're lusting after, but you have no desire to be with them. But for men, this is the base and lowest level. And it's a level that really confuses women a lot of times because men will lust a woman and have sex with a woman who he has no inclination of being in a relation with. He has no affinity to being in a relationship with her. But he will lust after her, he will spend time, he will spend money. It's counterintuitive, I would agree. It's destructive, I would agree, but it's distinctive. And this is the part that a lot of times women don't understand. Yeah, dudes are going to go out and spend a bunch of money in strip clubs. Some dudes pay for prostitutes. Some other cats use escort service. Some people just sugar daddy and sugar mama people. They will be with people who they know, if I stop providing resources in the form of money or some kind of material resource, we don't have a relationship and I don't have access to this person's body. But I have no intention, no inclination, no affinity to be with this person in any way. A lot of times, interestingly enough, for us as men, these are not even women that we would associate with publicly, right? Now follow me. And men, you can bear my witness to this. Men will deal with prostitutes. They will deal with go-go dancers. They will deal with all kinds of women of quote unquote ill repute that they have no intention on even being seen with publicly because of base level conditioning and the way we've been conditioned to express our lust, right? And get our sexual needs met. It's a conditioning. It's not a nature as some people try to prescribe or promote that men got some kind of nature that it's all conditioning. You could go to men all over the world who don't get conditioned like we do in the West, and most of them do. But you can go to places where this is not the case. So it is not a nature thing. It's more of a nurtured thing. But a man will give a woman that he's lusting a certain kind of attention. Now, other women see this and believe men are misrepresenting. I see 1,000 videos. I just saw a video with a young sister that me and Nawasha follow and we have a lot of respect for. She posted a video about a woman reacting to a video that a man was saying to some other women and men that men like natural, men don't want BBLs, men don't want this kind of super fly boss chick energy that a lot of women portray in their physical presentation. And the woman was saying as a reaction video, well, that's not true, and all we need to do is look at the amount of DMs that the BBLs or these type of women get. And what they're not understanding is the woman that a man lusts is very different than a man that a woman a woman that a man loves or wants. Like, for example, I had said to her in the comments, if you take a man, you take 100 men and you show them a video tile and it has a scantily clad woman with fake body parts, a billion tattoos, blue eyes, blonde hair, and all. This is a black woman. She walking through an urban setting. And then in the other video, there's a woman, beautiful woman, quietly at home, sitting next to some plants, reading through a magazine or a book, or sitting with some children. If you ask 100 women, 100 men, what is the video they would click first? They would probably click the one walking through the urban environment. Why? The sensationalism and magnetism of physical and sexual lust is high, especially in black men in the Western world, especially in America, which is the bowels of society, right? The lowest human behavior possible is thriving here in America and celebrated by some communities, right? But then if you ask that same a man, who would you choose as a mate? It's certainly almost 99% that other woman. This is confusing to women sometimes when they watch this behavior. They think that this means men are being fraudulent about what they want. Men are lust driven in the nurturing of this society, so they want the quick and easy, responsible less lust satisfaction. But if they want to build a legacy, which is what marriage and family is about, they're looking for somebody with a certain ethic, countenance, etc. And so they would always choose the second person to build a nation with. But we are nurtured from very young that sex sells, and there's a primal validity in sex that a lot of people will argue is your nature. But again, the desire to procreate and recreate yourself is natural. But the desire to just lust, and we have an acronym at Akoma House Initiative where we say longing to unload sexual tension, LUST is what lust is. It's just the unloading of sexual tension. Basically, it's just throwing something out, throwing something on, throwing something away from yourself that is an internal pressure to release, right? So these men don't want these women. They want to have an experience with them. They do not want a relationship. They want relations. And because these are women in a sensational context appear to get a lot of men's attention, other women start to believe this is what men want. And so now you have a dynamic where really only like 8 to 10% of women are actually living that way. 80% of them promote that way. And it becomes problematic when men respond to them on a base level, and you got all these women running around looking crazy talking about they're looking for respect from men, and you're never going to get it because you're falling into the thing that men absolutely don't respect. We covet, but we don't respect. So now back to the point. It's 3 categories: a mate, a friend with benefits, and a sexual conquest. So they descend in order. If you are a mate, you are a friend with benefits, and you are a sexual conquest, all at the same time. If you are friends with benefits, you are a friend and a sexual conquest. If you are a sexual conquest, you are not a friend and you are not a mate. So it doesn't ascend up, it descends down. So these are the 3 categories that you will be in anytime a man meets you. But men, I have to tell you something that we have not been taught. Although there is a distinction, women put you in the same categories. And those categories where there is a distinction is this: men know immediately. Women, men know immediately. Women, men know immediately. There is never a time that we are unclear about what category you're in. Now, the unique thing about men is when we put you in a category, 95% of the time, you do not leave that category. There is nothing that you can do to get out of that category. This is where the one place that, although it's the same for men and women, The processing is different. And it's just because of the nature of how men, I think, initiate and lead the process of relationships, right? So a man pursues, he watches, he hunts, and then he presents, right? What his overall motive is or his overall thing is. So he's going to wife you because of something that he's seen. He's going to say you cool, you real chill, and you somebody that I can be with and spend time with, and just be really close to, i.e., meaning we can have sex without high levels of responsibility. The first one is a man is saying, "You're my mate, you're my wife. I'm ready." Whether he's skilled or not is another thing, but he's saying he's ready to put his whole life up for you, right? That's what he's saying. The second position, he's basically saying, "You cool, and we could kick it, and I would like to have sex, but I don't want to attach any real responsibility to you." That third position is, "I want no responsibility whatsoever, and I really don't even want to be friends. I just want to get sexual gratification from our interaction." So these are the three categories, right? For men, we always know. So women oftentimes ask me, how would you know when is the right time to ask? Immediately, because he approached you because he knows. He already knows when he approaches you. If I'm not like the manosphere people who keep trying to make references with the animal kingdom. The idiocy in that is we have free will and we can go outside of our nature and stuff like that. Animals can't do that. So we're not the animal kingdom. But for the sake of making a reference, I'll say this. When a cheetah is on the plain or a tiger is in the field and a prey comes, they know that it's prey. They know what they want to do. They're not conflicted about what it is that they want from this thing, from this antelope or whatever it is that they're aggressing against. And so when they aggress, they're coming in for the kill because that's what the nature of the relationship is, right? Men are the same way in that plain or on that in that grassland. When we come encounter with the leopard, a lot of times we want to kill it, or the tiger, we want to contain it. If it's a friends with benefits, the metaphor would be, we would enslave it and put it in some kind of zoo or show. If it's or that would be like a mate. But if we wanted to have friends with benefits, we will use it and have it in captivity for some way to make money, right? Same with the first example. But ultimately, that devouring, that's just to kill it, right? That's just to have it hanging on the wall or something like that. It's a conquest, right? So similarly, even though the animal kingdom is always not a good metaphor to use for relationships, manosphere people, stop using animal kingdom as some kind of reference. It makes you look foolish, right? But we always know. Men always know. They always know, women. I know it's hard for you to. How could he know when he first meet? He knows what he's looking for before he met you. That's why. It's not you that makes him change his mind. It's what he was looking for when he set out. So if he's looking for a wife, he knows when he finds it. If he's looking for a friends with benefit, he knows when he finds it. If he's looking for a sexual conquest, he knows when he finds it. So it's about him knowing what he's looking for, not who you are. And this is where men and women are different. So first, men, you got to understand, women actually knowingly or unknowingly put you in the same three categories. And it's essentially because there aren't any other categories to go in. That's really what the problem is. So it's not even like special to men or women. There's only three real categories you could go in: a mate, a friend with sexual benefits, or a sexual conquest. That's it. So for women, how it's a little bit different is because of the social order of things and because of the way relationships are nurtured, a woman can meet a man that if she's not attracted or not feeling him in that way, but if she continues to give him access to her mind and her thoughts and her feelings, her mind and her heart, she can grow into being friends with benefits, at least all the way up to a mate at best. So you see a lot of women saying, when I met this person, I wasn't feeling them like that. I had no intention of being in a relationship with them. Now we're in a committed relationship. You rarely find that with men. And women, when you do find that with men, rest assured that's usually he has settled for something because it's consistent, it's present, and it's the least confrontational. But men don't start off striving to be your friend and then eventually grow into some divine love with you. That doesn't happen with men. This is where men and women are a little bit different. And I really can't say that it's a nature difference in women, but it is a nurtured difference in women because they are nurtured into a social dynamic where they're not the aggressor, right? So if a man who has intentions of being more than a friend utilizes the technique of starting out as a friend, he can stay in that lane for 3 months, 5 years, 10 years before that line is crossed. But he has always thought about the idea of the relationship moving beyond platonicism, right? If that's a word, I don't even think that's a word. But he can always think of the relationship moving beyond that. So this is the only way that men and women are different, because men can be so arrogant, they're not even thinking about the fact that women put you in the same categories too. You know, the exception is if you hang around and beat her down long enough, you can move your categories. For women, you can't do that with men. The only way you can ever really do that is if a man settles and say, you've been hanging around, you want something I don't want, but now I'm in a situation where I can't get what I want, so I'm settling for what we have together. You know, so that's the uniqueness of it. So how to utilize this in the dynamic of courting becomes a real and important issue, because we waste a lot of time with people and assume that we're building a quote unquote relationship with somebody who's just looking to have relations, or somebody who's cool with you but never is going to commit themselves and their life to your energy. And so again, in descending order, you got the mate, which is full life, full on responsibility into perpetuity, because this is even extending into your children. That's the ultimate. The second one, friends with benefits. We having sex, we cool, but it's no major responsibility. I'll let you borrow $500 or I'll help you out with this or that, but it's no major responsibility. And then finally, it's the hit and quit, like I hardly know you, but we're having sexual interaction, right? So for the men, always know up front. The women, we're going to evolve possibly into that, but she makes a clear decision usually up front too. But because of the nurturing, she can oftentimes change her position, right? So you will hear girls say, girl, I didn't even like him like that when I first met him. Now we've been married 12 years, you know what I mean, et cetera, et cetera. So this is the uniqueness and the difference. But these three categories are present. You should always be talking about this, especially upon meeting. And I find it interesting that a lot of people will project that they don't want to get into that conversation, when the truth of the matter is, this is what everybody is processing. Like, that's the part that's funny to me. And it shows that one of the Super 7 Akoma Soul skills has to be effective communication. Because if we can't talk about the thing that everybody is thinking, everybody is feeling, and everybody is acting on, that's insane. We're actually in the middle of it. We're all thinking it. We're all feeling it. We're all acting on it, but we're all saying that we got to wait to talk about it. You're already acting on it. So action is the purest form of communication. We're actually silently talking about it. But because we're uncertain and we're unskilled, we don't want to talk about it so much. And that causes supreme problems. So what I would offer that people do is, in the very beginning, raise this conversation about the three categories. Is this a potential mate possibility to you? Is this a friend with benefits? Or is this a sexual conquest? And most of the time, people will be honest. Now, if you ask this a lot to men and men say they don't know, then you're not a mate. Because men assume that all women want to be a mate, and that's not true. So they will pretend that they're uncertain, but they wouldn't have approached you if they were uncertain. A man only approaches because of certainty. He's watching, he's looking. Now, saying a compliment or having a chance interaction is not the same as approaching you. Approaching you, looking for your time, your attention, your number, your communication, your eventual activity and behavior together, all the way from let's hang out, all the way to let's be together sexually, emotionally, committed or otherwise. He knew that from the beginning. He didn't start in there is no man looking to be your friend. That we don't do that. That's not necessary. Once you're past a certain age, that's not necessary, and we all pass that age. So this is why so many people talk about, can men and women be platonic friends? In theory, yes. But most times when you're platonic friends, it is in lieu or respect of some other commitment that you have, or there is no attraction. Those are the two things. So I can be platonic friends with somebody as a married man, and if she's a married woman, but if I'm not married and she's not married, and we have open space and opportunity, would we say, okay, and we're attracted to each other? Would we say, we're attracted, but we decided at the beginning we're just friends, so we're not going to cross that? Most times, no. You can be attracted to many of your friends that are in relationships and respect them fully and respect their partner in their marriage or relationship because you are friendly. You have respect for them and you respect yourself. But in the absence of those protective hedges, man, please, why would you do that? It doesn't even make any sense to do. So a lot of people talk about if that's real or not. And, from my experience as a clinical therapist and working with thousands of people, it's not real. We don't see in large number a group of men trying to be friends with a bunch of women. We don't see that. Now, unfortunately, even though we don't see a lot of women seeking out male friendships, what we do see, because of the nurturing of misogyny, a lot of women say, I don't have a lot of female friends. And when you say that to a man, what that means is, to us, you don't really value your self-image. And so that's a telltale sign that says, hey, it's easy to just run game or do anything to you because you don't even value what you are, that you have relationships with any of them. And a lot of times when you see women who are mated or married, you won't hear them saying, I don't have female friends. It's a lot of times the single women where 90% of their male quote unquote friends are potential sexual conquests or friends with benefits. And it's certainly not mates, potential mates, because if you're single and you're around men who want to mate you, they're advancing that, because a man who wants to mate is actually he's progressive and aggressive in that pursuit. So that's the thing. The summer is coming in. For us, this is the heat of love season. So you will hear unlimited conversations about intimacy and sex. Not sex and intimacy, but intimacy and sex, because that's the cadence. That's the proper order or syntax of the way relationships should be built. It's emotional vulnerability that creates high level sex, not sex and then you can become intimate. It doesn't work that way. And that's part of the problem so many people who are sexually active are having. They have a lot of sex partners and they have no intimacy with anyone. So this is part of the problem. But you will see Nawash and I coming on talking about the heat of love and a lot of different conversations around it. Today, I wanted to spark the season. It hasn't officially got here yet, but it's less than a couple weeks away. I wanted to officially spark it with this conversation about what are the 3 categories you're in. I worked with a great client this morning in Atlanta, and we had a conversation about that. And she was curious about, some of what's going on. So she helped to inspire this message. But it's always 3 categories: potential mate, husband, wife, mate, life partner, friend with benefits, or sexual conquest. They descend down. So the mate is the friend with benefits and the sexual conquest. They don't ascend up. The sexual conquest cannot be a friend with benefits and usually is never made into a mate. So like and share this with anyone to spark some conversation. Agree or disagree. I welcome all viewpoints, so you can, say how you feel about it and what your perspective is on it, but really speak from your experience. Again, men and women both feel this way. Men feel this way. And men, surprise, women feel this way too. Men are more inflexible on these 3 points than women are. They tend to be a little more flexible because of the nurturing dynamic and who actually starts the relationships in this social dynamic. But the same is true for both. We usually know, and men know right away, women know within some time, but when we put you in a category, regularly do you get out, right? And so when you hear things like the friend zone and stuff like that, the friend zone is usually describing a woman who puts a man in a category where she is not willing to be sexual with him because she's either not attracted or some other reason, right? Men, we don't really have a friend zone. We like, hey, we feeling you that way, or we not dealing with you at all, because men are physically aggressors. Women sometimes tolerate men that if they were men and he was a woman, she would have been cut him off. But because he's a physical foreboding presence and he's continuing to engage, she tolerates him and she'll allow him to be in her circumference. That's usually how that goes. But think about it. Again, bring the conversation up, raise the conversation, like and share this video with anybody who you think it might have value with to spark the conversation. What category are you in? Are you a mate, full on life responsibility, a husband and wife? Are you a friend with benefits? Or are you the jiggy jump off, sexual conquest? That's what's on the table as we begin to enter the season of intimacy and sex that we call at the Akoma House Initiative the heat of love. So as always, greeting you in the eternal words of Black love culture and saying, Nia Akoma, till the next time.